It's Judah's birthday today. Gosh, this is so hard. So I'm using my phone because I can't film on my camera because my computer is broken. So I'm doing this on my phone and I'm gonna try my best. I don't know how this is gonna turn out, but who cares? I just really wanted to put out a video today because it's Judah's birthday and I wanted to share his birth story, and I thought, you know what, who cares if it's on my phone and it's not as good quality, but I just really wanted to share this story today. Exactly a year ago, I had my firstborn baby, and he was born in this room at home, and I've never publicly shared this story, or and so I wanted to do that today. And I'm not editing any of this, so I'm probably gonna mess up a lot and have to go back, and I'm gonna try my best. I'm looking at the clock. I'm gonna try my best not to take an eternity. So let's do it. I had a home birth and it was awesome. So this is my story. So Judah was born the day after Mother's Day last year, which was on a Monday, May 15th. And the morning that he was born, or the morning of the day that he was born, I woke up at around 9:30 and I had those really bad cramps that you get on the first day of your period, and I was like, oh, this is probably false labor, and I wasn't really sure if it was like false labor or just cramps, or like if I was actually starting labor. And so I googled false labor versus actual labor, and everything lined up perfectly with like, you're actually gonna give birth soon. So I call Kyle and I'm like, oh right, I called Kyle and he's not answering, and so I had to call his friend, and his friend at work had to like talk to him and get him home. And so Kyle came home and I was feeling okay, but I was definitely getting like those surges, aka contractions, very consistently. And so at that point I was just kind of walking around the kitchen just like, okay, it's here, it's happening, I'm really excited. Kyle came home and we were like, let's watch Hercules, because that's what you do. And so we started watching Hercules. Love that movie. And oh right, and then I was like, I should have a smoothie or something because it's good to have food. And so I tried having a smoothie, and then a little bit into the movie, all of a sudden I just like turn to my side and I throw up in a bin that's right there. And Kyle's like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, I'm fine, let's keep watching the movie. And then like 10 minutes later I throw up again, and I was like, okay, there's no way we're gonna be able to watch this. And so we made it through like maybe a third of the way. And then after that I like threw up, I think maybe 3 times, and every time I would try to eat something I would just throw up right away. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna eat today. And so that was around, Kyle came home at around 11, and then we hung out in the bedroom. I remember whenever I was going through a contraction, I would either like lean over the bed, or like be on all fours on the floor, just like, yeah, just on all fours, just breathing very deeply. And I had done hypnobirthing in a book, and I'd love to talk about that in another video because it's not what you think it is if you don't know what it is. Hypnobirthing. So I was just like super focused and like super happy. I like was so calm. Every time I went through a contraction, I would just close my eyes and breathe and just focus. And I have never been so focused in my entire life on anything. And it was really great. Like that part was really, I want to say that part was easy. And then at around 3 o'clock-ish, I was like, oh, I want to take a bath. So I started the bath, and I remember this part, I was really tired, and I was like in the bath, and like half of my face was sticking out of the water, and I was breathing through my nose, and I was like falling asleep in between contractions. So anytime I wouldn't have a contraction, I would kind of like doze off, and that was like such a nice time. And I actually forgot about this for the longest time, and I left it out of my birth story whenever I would share it with people. And then like a couple months later I was like, wait, I took a bath during labor and I totally forgot. And so it was such a peaceful, calm time. And then at around 5 or 6, I like don't really know perfectly the times because everything was such a blur and it went by so fast. So we kind of estimated with these times. At around maybe 5 or 6, I was like, oh, I have to poop. And I like felt that I was about to poop my pants. And so I ran over, and we have a squatty potty. And I was on the squatty potty, and all of a sudden I just heard this whoosh of water. And we both looked at each other, and I was like, I think my water just broke. And we started laughing because people always tell you, oh, it's not like in the movies where like a big gush of water comes out, but that's exactly what happened with me, and it was really funny. And then as soon as that happened, the surges, the contractions were really, really, really intense. And this part, I was on the toilet for maybe like an hour and a half, and that was the most challenging part for me, I think. And it was just, everything was on my stomach, all of this tense, like, I don't call it pain because it wasn't painful, it was just like, this is a really difficult thing that I'm going through right now. And I would just like really, really focus and like trying to remember what it was like. I was just breathing, focusing on breathing, and I was so happy. I was like smiling, and like, this is so difficult and one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it's so amazing and I'm so excited. And every time I would go through a contraction, I would just think, man, I get to meet my baby so soon. I have to do this one more time. And I was in such good spirits. Yeah. And then my mom came, and we called my midwife, and she was like, okay, on my way, because things were happening very quickly right after that. So that was about 6 o'clock. I think at 6:45, my mom came, and the midwife came at the same time, and I was with my mom for a while on the toilet. I was sitting on the squatty potty, and I had my arms over her, and I was doing the crazy, like really intense breathing, but I was still super calm, and like my face was relaxed, my arms were relaxed. I was so relaxed this whole time, yet I was working so hard and breathing so deeply. And then during that time that I was with my mom, that was probably, that continued to be the hardest part. And then Kyle and my midwife were setting up the birthing tub in the living room, and they were doing that, and because they didn't realize how quickly the next things were gonna, everything just escalated really quickly from there. So they were like, oh, we need to get the bath started, the birthing tub in the living room, and everyone was kind of freaking out, but I was totally like just whoosh, focused in my zone. But apparently it was kind of chaotic, Kyle says. And so I got into the tub at around, excuse me, I had to burp. I got into the tub at around 7:30, I think. That's our guess. And I remember I like kind of hobbled on over, and I was still so happy. I was so calm. And I think by that point the second midwife had arrived, and I like got into my tub. The whole living room was decked out with my candles, with my affirmations all on the walls, and I was just like, I'm so happy right now. This is the greatest day ever. I'm having so much fun. I was like on cloud 9, and I hadn't eaten anything all day. I was just drinking water and coconut water all day long, and I did not feel tired at all. And it was because, God knew, the day before I had the biggest dinner ever. It was Mother's Day. I had the biggest dinner ever, and I remember at the end of my pregnancy, I didn't eat that much. I would never eat that much in one sitting. I would always eat little meals, but for God knew, I had to eat so much the night before because I wasn't going to get anything the next day. And so I felt so energetic, and I had a good night's rest too, which was an answer to prayer, because I started labor at the beginning of the day, so I had to sleep and a ton of food in my stomach. And so I was just doing great, and I got in the tub, and I remember just feeling so relaxed, and I was like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for, the warmth. And I just kind of like I don't know, I like floated for a moment and I was like, this is amazing, I love this. And I had my music on, my worship music on, and I was just like feeling the music and just like, it's such a crazy experience. Like, it was so, I don't know, miraculous and beautiful. And what was it? So I was going through the contractions and they were very, very intense, and I could definitely feel the baby coming out. And I was hunched over the pool, the birthing tub, and on my knees and hunched over and holding Kyle's hands and just breathing and laughing. I remember laughing and just being so excited. And then the midwife's student. So the student midwife, she came in and I was like, "Hi, Joya, how are you?" And she was like, "Oh, hi." And she thought that I had already given birth and she was so disappointed. And so she just comes and she like sits on the couch, and then my midwife's like, Joya, get it together, start writing things down. And she was like, "Oh," because I was just so happy, and like nobody could tell that I was like in the middle of the most intense part of labor. And I thought that was the funniest thing, that she told me this afterwards. She was like, "I thought you had already given birth. You were just like laughing and joking around." And so anyway, and then I definitely remember, I'm pretty sure I pushed for about an hour. For each contraction, I would like, I don't say push because I don't feel like I had to push. I mostly just like breathed. I did that like really intense like and breathing, and then I definitely did some like mama lioness tiger growling like to like get the baby out, to get Judah out. And the position that I was in when I gave birth was very interesting. I was on my knees like this in the water, and I had one hand holding onto Kyle, my other hand behind me holding me, and I was on my knees and I was leaning back and I just like breathed him out. And I remember my midwife just being like, "All right, it's gonna happen very soon. Like, you can feel his hair." And I remember feeling his hair, and it was like kind of going like this in the water. And she's like, "Okay, are you ready? Like, give a little push." And I was like, "Okay." And then he like came out, and it was the craziest, most beautiful moment of my life. And I like picked him up out of the water, and he came onto my chest, and I started weeping, and I'm gonna cry right now. And I was so proud of Judah. I like remember the first few words that I said to him were like, "You did it, you're so amazing." Like, oh gosh, I'm gonna cry. And just like, it's just crazy. Like, sometimes people don't think about like everything that the baby has to endure to get out of the mom. It's just like, I can't imagine. And so I was just telling him, "I'm so proud of you, you're amazing." They put him on my chest, I was weeping, and then they put a blanket, like a wet blanket, over him so he would stay warm. And then he like, maybe like 20 seconds later, he started crying, and it was like, oh, it was amazing. And then my midwife was like, I forget what she said, but we were talking, and my midwife goes, "Oh, she's whatever." And we were all like, it's a girl. And we hadn't like checked yet. And she was like, "Oh, I don't know." But all of us were like, "It's a girl. And then she was like, "Oh no, I don't know, I haven't checked." And so we looked, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's definitely a boy." And we all started laughing, and Kyle came around and like got to look at him, and I was just like sitting there, amazing. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention, when he came out of my body, I did tear a little bit, and I remember that was the only painful part that I experienced. It was not bad. It was really just kind of like a paper cut. Like if you were to get a paper cut on like your finger, that's kind of what it felt like. And I think, or I know that I didn't focus on the pain that much because I was so mentally like prepared to rid my mind and my physical body of any pain. And so I didn't, like, I felt it, but I didn't like focus on it. So I wasn't traumatized or anything. It was just like, oh, this kind of stings. And then the pain went away after like 10 seconds. It was just for a moment. But yeah, that happened. Anyway, and so he was born. And then what happened? He was born at 9:19, I think, like 9:20 or 9:19. And then I hopped out of the birthing tub after, like, I think I was in there for 45 minutes, just like taking it all in, and they were checking all the baby's vitals. Excuse me, I have a lot of gas. And yeah, I went to my bedroom and I laid on my bed, and she was like, we're gonna have to do stitches now, you know, for down there because I tore a little bit. And I was like, oh no, because I was not excited about this. And it's so funny, everybody's always so scared about birth and about pain, and I was not worried about the pain at all. But the one thing I was nervous about was getting stitches. And I remember being on my bed and being like, I want everybody in there touching my arms, rubbing my face, playing with my hair, and I need the most peaceful song playing. And I had this really nice song playing, and I was just singing. And I remember she's like, okay, I'm gonna stitch you up now. And it was not that bad. It was just like a few stitches. But I was so scared, and I was like tense, and then like the midwife student had to be like massaging me, and I was like, okay, I feel fine. And then she started doing it, and I was like, oh, that's it? Okay, that's not bad. But it's funny that like I hadn't thought about, oh, I might have to get stitches, and so I never like prepared for that. And so because of that, I was so scared, and that was like the only scary part of my birth experience, and it was just really funny that it wasn't that bad anyway. So that was on my bed, and then I stayed in bed, and they brought the baby back over, and while I was getting stitches, Kyle was able to bond with Judah, and then I just like stayed in bed. And another fun part was actually after I gave birth, I went to the bathroom, I think to go pee. I'm not sure. I don't remember why I went to the bathroom, but I went to the bathroom and I actually passed out. And I don't remember why I passed out, but it was the funnest experience ever. And it was because I felt like I had taken like a 45-minute nap, and my midwife was like, oh, you were just out for like 30 seconds. And I was like, really? I feel like I just rested and I feel amazing. And it was the funniest thing ever. So that was a funny thing. And that was the scariest part for my mom, because she thought that I was gonna have to go to the hospital and all this stuff, but I was fine. And yeah, that was pretty much my experience. 18 minutes. Okay, let's see. How can I wrap this up? Basically, I had the most beautiful birth ever, and I would love to talk more about birth in another video. And I am planning on it, and I have already outlined it and everything. This one was just kind of like, here's a story. I didn't plan this at all. But I did have the best birth ever, and I want to talk about it forever, but I can't. So I'm just going to say that you can have a beautiful birth, and you can have a peaceful birth, and you can have a birth that is pain-free. And yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's hard, and it sometimes hurts, but it doesn't have to be about that. It's about being strong, and about being empowered, and about just a miracle, basically. So that's Judah's birth story. It was awesome, and I couldn't have asked for a more awesome experience. And I tell people it was one of the funnest days of my life, and I can't wait to do it again. And I will definitely have a home birth again, if the Lord permits. And yeah, I think that's all. And now Judah's 1 year old. He's 1 year old, and I can't believe it. And he's doing great. He is happy and healthy and crazy, and yeah, I can't believe it's been a year. It feels like a few months ago that we had the best day ever. So that's my birth story. Hope you liked it. And I'll try to be back soon with some more videos, but like I said, my computer's not working, so we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, thanks for listening, you guys. Hope you have a good day. And if you know of anyone that's giving birth soon, encourage them. Don't scare them. Pray for them. Have a good day. I think I said that already. Maybe not. All right. Bye, guys.